Shalom, welcome to another video, and as always, before I get started, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachash, and next level honors to the head apostles / elder bishops of the great millstone who teach and who rule well, peace, blessings, and safety. To all you sincere Akim, keep pushing, keep believing, and keep the faith, regardless of what the people hear or that they forbear. So this is going to be a reading of First Maccabees, the second chapter, an update to the Apocryphal playlist on my channel. And in the first chapter, it goes into the rising up of the Greeks, all right, through Alexander the Great. Okay, if you don't know who that is a war general that at that time, okay, in the 3rd century BCE, the 4th century BC, excuse me, he took over what's known of as the known world at that time. He pretty much took over, Europe. Even his generals that came after him took over Egypt, okay, different parts of Asia. So what they did was they had forced the Israelites, the Jews that were left over at that time. They have forced them, not all of them, but a lot of them, to do away with their law, okay, and to follow behind the commandments of the Greeks. All right. So in this chapter, First Maccabees, the second chapter, okay, it goes into the uprising against that, all right, which started the Maccabean Revolt. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and read about that here. First Maccabees chapter 2. Heavenly Father's will is edifying to the elect. Okay, so there's not really much precepts to bring out. Okay, it's pretty much just a story. It's the beginning of, like I said, the Maccabean Revolt, where the Jews that were valiant for the law rebelled against the Greeks. Okay, Antiochus' surname Epiphanes, as we read about in First Maccabees, the first chapter. So let's go ahead and start off at verse 1. It says, "And in those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Joarib, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons, Johanan called Cadiz, Simon called Thasi, Judas who's called Maccabeus, Eleazar called Avaron, and Jonathan, whose surname was Aphis. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, Woe is me, wherefore I was born to see the misery of my people and of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of the strangers." Like I said, they desecrated and destroyed Jerusalem. All right, and a lot of Jews that were noble, they were sickened by what they were seeing. All right, so this is the beginning of that rebellion. He says, "Her temple is become as a man without glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets. Her young men with the sword of the enemy. What nation hath not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils? All her ornaments are taken away. Of a free woman she has become a bondslave. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory, is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it. To what end, therefore, shall we live any longer?" Then Mattathias and his sons rent their clothes and put on sackcloth and mourned very sore. In the meanwhile, the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came into the city of Modin to make them sacrifice. And when many of Israel came unto them, Mattathias also and his sons came together. Then answered the king's officers and said to Mattathias on this wise, Thou art a ruler and an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with sons and brethren. Now therefore come thou first and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen have done, yea, and the men of Judah also, and such as remain at Jerusalem. So shalt thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friends, and thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold and many rewards." All right, so Mattathias was a noble man, okay, amongst the Israelites, and in First Maccabees, the first chapter, it tells you that the king made a decree that they would go from city to city of the Jews and force them to offer sacrifices unto idols. Okay, so we're going to read how when they came to his city, we're going to read how he responded. All right, and they tried to bribe him. They said, if you obey the king's commandment, you'll have many rewards. Okay, verse 1 Maccabees 2:19. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, Though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him, and fall every one from the religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandments. Yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. Yahweh forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. And we will not hearken to the king's words to go from our religion, either on the right hand or the left. Now when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment. Which thing when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled, neither could he forbear to show his anger, according to his judgment, wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar. Because you had a wicked Israelite that said, I'll make the sacrifices. Okay, and Mattathias saw him, got angry, and deleted him. Just like the righteous men of old would do. So continuing on, and also the king's commissioner who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed him at that time, and the altar he pulled down. So Mattathias, was full of zeal. Okay, he destroyed the altar. He killed the king's messenger, and he killed a wicked Israelite that was getting ready to offer those pagan sacrifices. It says, thus dealt he zealously for the law of the Most High, like as Phinehas did unto Zambri, son of Salom. And that was in the book of I believe in the book of Judges, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. It's in the Torah, or it's in the book of Joshua. Judges, one of those where they would delete idol worshippers. Okay, and then also you have Jehu. I think Jehu was in 2 Kings. He deleted the worshippers of Baal. He trapped them inside of a temple, and then surrounded the temple. When they came out, he slaughtered them. So, that's a practice of the Israelite men that were noble, okay, for Yahweh, because they idol worshippers are our enemies, all right, and they weren't going off by doing that, okay. So he was dealing zealously for the law, just like another man that was referenced, another righteous man, Phinehas. Okay, so let's continue on. 1 Maccabees 2:27. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me. So he and his sons fled into the mountains, and left all that ever they had in the city. Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there, both they and their children, their wives, and their cattle, because afflictions increased sore upon them. Now, when it was told the king's servants and the host that was at Jerusalem in the city of David, that certain men who had broken the king's commandment were gone down into the secret places in the wilderness, they pursued after them a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them, and made war against them on the Sabbath day. And they said unto them, let that which ye have done hitherto suffice. Come forth and do according to the commandment of the king, and you shall live. But they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath day. So then they gave them the battle with all speed. Howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid. So the Greeks, okay, they sent another, they sent an army to come after them, hiding in the wilderness, and said, hey, look, what you did. Now come out of the wilderness and worship our false gods. Okay, and they made war against them, but those Israelites didn't fight them because it was a Sabbath day. Okay, so once again, verse 36, howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid, but said, let us all die in our innocency. Heaven and earth will testify for us that ye put us to death wrongfully. So they rose up against them in the battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them, with their wives and children and their cattle, to the number of 1,000 people. Now when Mattathias and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them right sore. And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done, and fight not for our lives and laws against the heathen, they will now quickly root us out of the earth. At that time therefore they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him, neither will we die all, as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. They came to the conclusion, even though it's a Sabbath, we have to go to war, or else we'll be rooted out. Okay, it says, then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law. Also all they that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them, and were a stay unto them. So they joined forces, and smote sinful men in their anger, and wicked men in their wrath, but the rest fled to the heathen, for succor. Okay, so all of the noblemen rose up, and all the wicked Israelites that were, joining to the heathen, they started slaughtering them and started killing them off. Okay, then Mattathias and his friends went round about and pulled down the altars, and what children soever they found within the coast of Israel uncircumcised, those they circumcised valiantly. They pursued also after the proud men, and their work prospered. The work prospered in their hand. So they recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles and out of the hand of kings. Neither suffered they the sinner to triumph. Now when the time drew that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons, Now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength, and the time of destruction and the wrath of indignation. Now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time. So shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name. Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness? Joseph in the time of his distress kept the commandment, was made Lord of Egypt. Phinehas our father, in being zealous and fervent, obtained the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. Joshua for fulfilling the word was made a judge in Israel. Caleb for bearing witness before the congregation received the heritage of the land. David for being merciful possessed the throne of an everlasting kingdom. Elijah for being zealous and fervent for the law was taken up into heaven. Ananias, Azarias, and Mishael by believing were saved out of the flame. Daniel for his innocency was delivered from the mouth of lions. And thus consider ye throughout all ages that none that put their trust in him shall be overcome. Fear not then the words of a sinful man, for his glory shall be dung and worms. The day he shall be lifted up, and tomorrow he shall not be found, because he is returned unto his dust, and his thought is come to nothing. Wherefore, ye my sons, be valiant, and show yourselves men in the behalf of the law, for by it shall ye obtain glory. And behold, I know that your brother Simon is a man of counsel. Give ear unto him always, and he shall be a father unto you. As for Judas Maccabeus, he hath been mighty and strong, even from his youth up. Let him be your captain, and fight the battle of the people. Take also unto you all those that observe the law, and avenge ye the wrong of your people. Recompense fully the heathen, and take heed to the commandments of the law. So he blessed them, and was gathered to his fathers. And he died in the 146th year, and his sons buried him in the sepulchres of his fathers at Modin. And all Israel made great lamentation for him. Okay, so Mattathias, he sparked the revolt. All right, and then it was time for him to get ready to pass away, to go to rest. So he appointed Simon, okay, his son, as pretty much, the council, all right, for the men. And then he appointed Judas Maccabeus, all right, his other son, as the captain of war, okay, against the heathen. All right, and he gave him instruction, okay, to revenge and recompense, all right, themselves against the heathen. Okay, so it's beautiful. This whole first Maccabees is straight fire. I recommend you read the whole thing, but I'm gonna keep going through and bringing out these story times, okay, on the first Maccabees, and all these things that you read about, you can read about in secular history as well, which is pretty cool. So anyways, I'm gonna end it there. Heavenly Father's will was edifying. Alright, as always, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rach. And until next time, Shalom, and abide b'ball.